Hey guys, first of all, I do apologize if you're hearing boom sounds. Those are going to be like notification stuff. Also, I apologize if you hear a big boom sound. That's going to be my bank. I don't think it will, but probably it's going to tell me, hey, you're low on funds right now or something. So I do apologize if you hear any of those doing this. So yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to really talk about it because, one, I was doing some other things as well, doing some other videos. But also the fact that, as I noted this morning in the channel update video, my computer went on the fritz. Basically, I had to basically hard reset it and everything and pray over it constantly, pray about it constantly, and thank the Lord it's working fine now. In fact, when I bring up the file folder for the files I want to look into, it's a little faster now, and I think there might have been something there. I don't know what it was, but it was going through the whole the whole fixing, drive C deal. So, there was that. But I did want to talk about this, though. I did want to talk about this, and that is the fact that yesterday, and this was all over social media. This was all over social media on Twitter, aka X, Blue Sky. It was on Facebook. I'm sure other people are going to talk about it. But essentially, Sega, I guess Sega released or re-released the Mega Collection or something, or somebody had found the Japanese version of the Mega Collection, which was a game that came out for the GameCube and the PlayStation and the original Xbox. And the Mega Collection or Mega Collection Plus is just a comprising collection of all the classic 16-bit Sonic games, including some of the 32-bit games as well, the 32X-bit games, if you will. But mostly a lot of these Sonic games like Sonic 1 to 3, I think Sonic CDs in there as well, I believe, and all that. So it was just, basically, in fact, I got it right here in front of me. So I can list it off. Let me just get it out real carefully. But yeah, it's basically got things like Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3, Dr. Robotnik's Bean Machine, Sonic Spinball, again, the first 3 Sonic games and so on. And I think it's got some unlockables in there as well. It's got some unlockables in there as well and everything. So yeah, basically that's what it was. And one of the special features that it has, ladies and gentlemen, one of the special features that it has is just adjust some things here for a second. But one of the special features it has is it looks at the comics. Looks at a lot of the comics. Now, sometimes when a collection like Sonic Mega Collection goes to different regions, there are some changes, to those collections. Sometimes you'll get a bonus feature that is the same as what you get in one region, but it might be different. Or they might not even have bonus features in there and all that. So basically you're stuck with nada, if you know what I mean. You're stuck with nada. You're just stuck with the collection of games, which is good too. But basically Sonic Mega Collection Plus, its bonus features, like I said, it showcases like movies from like Sonic CD and so on, which I think is unlockable in there. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it showcases that kind of stuff. It does showcase that kind of stuff. But what's interesting though is one of the bonus features is they talk about the Archie Sonic comics. And they don't just talk about them. They show all the covers. They show all the covers of the comics up to that point, including the miniseries. That's right, including the spin-off miniseries of Knuckles, Tails, and Sally. And what was interesting about this is people were bringing this up yesterday because of the fact that officially Sega has acknowledged, Sega of Japan that is, the Sega team there, through which is the main outlet for Sonic and all that, Sonic games and merchandise and everything. Sega of Japan has acknowledged officially in canon Mobius as being part of the franchise. Planet Mobius as part of the franchise, and acknowledge the freedom fighters as well. Now, I don't think they outright say it, but they do allude to it. That, there's another planet, and basically it alludes to the citizens there, the citizens that live there. And it all ties in, believe it or not, with Sonic Spinball, which is, again, one of the games on the collection. It's one of the games on the collection. And Sega has officially, like I said, through this in Japan, acknowledged Mobius, as being part of the franchise, and thus, by extension, acknowledged the freedom fighters as well. Now, what's interesting about this, though, is the way they acknowledge Mobius. Because, as we all know, being longtime fans, Mobius, when it comes to the freedom fighters, with Sonic, was Sonic's home in Sonic SatAM and Archie Sonic. We know that. We know it was also his home in Sonic Underground and his home in Adventure. So that's basically how we know about Mobius and its connection with Sonic, because that was his home world. But what's interesting here, though, is the fact that they still keep Sonic, kind of in his world, basically Earth, and they make Mobius its own separate planet. Yeah, they make Mobius the own separate planet away from the world Sonic lives. And the way they describe this is for Spinball's story plot, is that Eggman, decides to travel to planet Mobius to take it over, to capture the citizens, and turn them into monsters to do his bidding, or roboticized monsters, or whatever you want to call it. So basically, the catch here is that, yes, they acknowledge Mobius as canon, as part of the franchise, and the freedom fighters as well, but they're all living separately on a different world, which is interesting and very intriguing. Now, some people have come up with some theories as to why they did this. One, yes, it acknowledges what we've all felt was, true from the get-go, that Sally, Bunnie, Rotor, Antron, Dulcie, all of them, Lupe, and all of them, they're all canon. They're all canon to Sega. They're all canon to Sonic. They're all part of the franchise. We've all known that. We've known Mobius is part of the franchise. We've all known that. But what's interesting, though, is the way they acknowledge it by saying it's its own world. In other words, it's saying that, when Sonic goes and meets Sally, he goes and meets Rotor, he goes and meets Bunnie, when him and Tails go and do that, they're basically meeting citizens of a planet similar and identical to his, but, different. Which is, I guess, kind of a unique way of getting the band together, if you know what I mean. But some people have actually come up with theories as to why this happened. Some are coming up with theories that, hey, this might be similar to Planet of the Apes. And we're not talking, the Tim Burton one. We're talking the original version, the original Charles Heston version, I think. The original 1960-70 one. We're talking about that and how the world, how the world he came back to was different. And he saw the Statue of Liberty in the sand, and he's like, "You monsters, you destroyed or you blew it up," or something like that. And he said that iconic line. But basically, some people are actually making, from a theory and speculation standpoint, comparisons that, the reason the world of Mobius is a place where Robotnik wants to conquer, is not only because it has citizens there he can try to conquer, he can try to conquer and lord over, but also the fact that it's very similar to Sonic's world. And some people, like I said, have come up with theories that maybe it's in that kind of situation to where it is Sonic's world, but an alternate, timeline, an alternate universe. That this planet, Mobius, is Earth, like I described, I talked about ironically in a video a couple days ago, which is taking off like gangbusters. Thank you guys for that. But basically, some people are theorizing it could be something along those veins, And yeah, that's an interesting take on it. That's an interesting way to look at it. Like, yeah, maybe that might be true. Maybe that's why Mobius, in spin, from a story standpoint, in Spinball is so attractive to Eggman to conquer, because it's very similar, if not identical, to Sonic's world, aka Earth. And that it might be a future world. It might be a future Earth. We don't know. And again, like I said, what's ironic about this is I did that video the other day where I talked about how, over 20 years ago in Archie Sonic 124 and 125, it was revealed in story that Mobius and Earth are one and the same. So the timing is kind of, weird, in that sense that, now we have this official canonization of the fact that Mobius is part of the franchise. The planet is real. The planet is legit. And by extension, the characters, on that planet that we know of, Sally, Bunnie, Rhoda, Dulcie, Antoine, Lupe, we all now know their canon as well. And again, like I said, the timing couldn't be more ironic, because again, you look at what people are throwing out there theory-wise based on what they see here and what they're reading. And yeah, I could see it as being an alternate, Earth, that's similar to what we see, at the end of Planet of the Apes. I could see that. I could see it being, maybe the Earth that Mobius, that becomes Mobius in the future, but it's stuck in an alternate timeline or an alternate universe that, Eggman travels to conquer, because of its similarity, or finding out, hey, it's the same planet, but it's years in the future, and hey, it's easy pickings. That might be the case too. I don't know. But all I can say is I'm excited. I'm happy that, Sega at least finally, even through a game collection that came out, over a decade, almost over, how long has it been? Like what, early to mid 2000s, so almost like 20 years ago. I'm happy that at least they're acknowledging it, even through a game collection, that's 20 years old. 20 years old. And I'm sure people are wondering, well, why now? Why couldn't they make this, knowledge? Why couldn't they make this knowledgeable when it came out? I think the reason being is that nobody took the time to translate. They didn't take the time to translate any of this, any of the wording, if you will. They didn't take time to translate any of the wording. Now, what's also interesting, though, is, when you look at the menu, because people put up screenshots of the menu, the original Mega Collection Plus menu with the bonus features in Japanese. And yeah, it does acknowledge, Archie Sonic and Sonic Satayama, which is good. But here's what's interesting, too. Now that I think about it, this was not just because of Sonic Mega Collection Plus. No, it wasn't just because of that, although that has been helping out in, proving, this officialization correct. But it was also through, I think, some kind of manual or something like that from another collection that's coming out or is out, for Sonic. I don't know if it's Sonic Origins or something, but somebody showcased that there is a booklet or a manual that talks about this, that describes the story for Sonic Spinball that officially canonizes Mobius as part of the franchise, canonizes the Freedom Fighters as part of the franchise. Because I think Spinball is included in this new collection or something. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, either way, I'm just glad, either way, I am glad that they are finally acknowledging it. And this does, in my opinion, open the door. It does open the door for, these characters to have the spotlight given to them one more time. Excuse me. When and where that will happen is up to those that get that opportunity to make it happen. We know Team Season, they are constantly on the verge of getting closer and closer and closer to making the pilot for the lost third season of Sonic Satayama reality. They're getting closer every day. I mean, when you go to the Patreon, if you're supporting them, you're seeing all of this imagery, all these screenshots of what they're working on and everything. And it's just amazing how detailed these shots are and everything, this animation is, and how close they are getting to officially making this a reality. And I'm sure a lot of us are going to be glad when it's all said and done to see it, on YouTube, because obviously that's where it's heading, is YouTube. But anyway, now, like I was saying, this does open that door outside of what Team Season is doing for these characters to make, another run for it, another shot at it, if you will, in the future. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Let me know how you feel about Sega of Japan and Sega overall officially canonizing, officially acknowledging, that Mobius and the Freedom Fighters are part of the franchise, are canon. Let me know what your thoughts are. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. And until next time, guys, you know what to do. Click on the links in the description to find me at all your favorite audio video podcast affiliates like iTunes, iHeart, Radio Public, Pandora, Spotify, Audible from Amazon, Overcast, you name it. If it's got a podcast, I am there too. You can also find me at patreon.com at BWRoses. You can also find me at Venmo and Cash App. Help support me there. You can also find me at VENMO at BW Roses for content you can't get here on YouTube. Same with Odyssey.com at BW Roses-5. Also, you can find me at Rumble.com at BW Roses. Again, for content you can't find here on YouTube. You can also find me at DeviantArt.com at BVW1979. You can find me at InkBuddy.net at BW Roses. You can also find me at Twitch.tv and Kick.com. You can also check out the Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. And you can find me and follow me at Twitter, aka X, BW Roses, Blue Sky, BW Roses, and TikTok at BW Roses. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about this? Overall, what was your reaction when this news came out? And until then, I'm out.